Okay, so as Rick mentioned, I'm not giving my conversion testimony. I still do that all over the place, and I love doing it. But I'm doing a lot more than that, because ultimately it's not about me. I'm nobody. It's about Jesus and Mary. And the talk that I want to give today is about Our Lady specifically, because this is a Divine Mercy Conference, as the masterpiece of Divine Mercy and as the mother of the new evangelization. Now, I've only got a limited time to do this, and I'm known to go off on tangents, so I probably won't be able to get everything I want to say in. So, and I hate to do this, make it a commercial or an advertisement, but I do have a book that the things that I'm not going to be able to cover in the next 45 minutes are in this book. And I'm going to use some terms during my talk that I'll repeat several times because they're rather technical terms. Don't panic. If you don't have a pen and you can't remember to write it down, don't panic. It's all in the book. So just remember that, okay? Because people are like, what was that word? What did he say? It's all in the book. Don't worry. Okay. So, I would like to start this talk by doing something with you that I'm borrowing from Fulton Sheen. Now, we all know who Fulton Sheen is, right? Phenomenal man. And hopefully his cause will continue to go and we'll get blessed Fulton Sheen soon, hopefully. And then Saint Sheen, that would be amazing. I borrowed something from him that he did during his life, and he put in a book called The World's First Love, which is one of the best books ever on the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I take what he did and I expand it a little bit because it's brilliant. If I was the originator of this idea, wow. Oh, it takes a Fulton Sheen to do something like this. So this is what I want to do with you, so that we can quickly get to the greatness that is Our Lady, the masterpiece of Divine Mercy that is Our Lady, and understand why she is the mother of the new evangelization. So follow me now. I want you to imagine, each single one of you, that you are God. You're God. So congratulations, you're divine right now. All of you. You've got all power, all knowledge, all wisdom. You can create cosmos and other planets, and you can do everything. Now, you're so good that you, who are a Trinitarian God, oh, sorry, what happened? Oh, they got to record this, I guess. But I can't back up, man. We got to keep going. Okay. All right. I got limited time. So. Okay. So you're God, and you're a Trinitarian God, so we're going to do a Trinitarian experiment. You in your Godhead, you're so good that you're going to create a world outside of yourself that you're going to pour your goodness into. I'm not going to go over the rest of the story, you know how it plays out, okay? So, you're going to create this world, and it's going to be so amazing. You created dolphins and mountain majesties and beautiful oceans and flowers and all that good stuff, and then you're going to create human persons and made in your likeness and image. You do good stuff, you don't make mistakes. And you give them free will. You know how the story goes. They fall, they mess up, they disobey, and they're wearing fig leaves after a while, and hiding from you in the garden. You know how the story goes. And what are you going to do? You're God. Are you going to say, did not anticipate this, I don't know, eternal Father coexist with me, like God from God, from all eternity, what do? Plan B? No, you don't make mistakes. You don't second guess yourself. You knew that this was going to happen. You're not freaking out. You don't have a Trinitarian committee meeting and a strategic planning meeting set up to figure it out now. You're God. You knew. And you also knew that one of your divine persons is going to enter into this fallen world because you don't abandon your creation. You weren't rolling dice at the beginning of creation. Yeah, let's see how this works out. Oh, too bad. Delete. No. You're so good. You're going to enter into that world. You're going to become one of them. And you're going to redeem it. You're going to elevate it actually to a place that it didn't even have before it fell. Because you're good. You're so good. So, follow me now. Let's say first that you are God the Son. You're the eternal Word who's going to take on human nature and enter into the world, and you're going to save it. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Are you going to come down from the heavens, just rub-a-dub-dub, Shazam, poof, out of thin air, as the 33-year-old Messiah, ready to accomplish my saving mission, Father God? No. That's magic. You're not a magical God. You set up an order. You made the anthropological order that children come into the world through a baby. They don't just pop out of the air. You made it that way. So you're going to abide by your own law. So, what are you going to do? You're going to make your own mom. You're the son. Never has it been heard that a son comes before his mother. None of you or myself came before our mothers. This is not how it works. But in this case, you're God. You're going to fashion your own mom. Now, I'm going to put myself in this little experiment. I'm going to say that I'm God too for the sake of making my point. I love my mom. You know, my earthly mother. Love her. If I could have come before her and made her, remember, like you right now, I have all power, all wisdom, all knowledge. I'm God. What would I do? What would you do? If you had the divine mind, you would have to do this, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be God anymore. If you had the power to pour the plenitude, meaning the fullness of your grace and your blessing into your mother, would you not do it? If you were making your own mom and you held back on any level, you'd be a funky son. Why would you do that? Why would you fall back and say, you know what? Maybe I'll make her a sinner. Why would you do that? You wouldn't if you were God. I wouldn't. I say this as a creature, right? If I had the power to do this. You guys, you know what I would do for my mom? I would make her something called, let's see, immaculate. I would make my mom filled with the plenitude of every blessing. Interiorly, primarily, but also exteriorly. She would have the most of every virtue. She would have the superlative of everything good. She would be the most loving, the most kind, the most merciful, the most patient, the most. Nothing would compare with my mother. I'd make her the model of what it meant to be holy. Because that's my mom. Wouldn't you do this for your mom? Sure you would, if you had the power to do it. You know what else I would do? I would want my mom to not just have the privilege of being an immaculate mother, my mother. I would find a way to make my mom a virgin. I'd want my mom to have every blessing that a woman could have. I would want my mom to be a virgin before my birth. That's kind of easy. I'd want her to be a virgin during my birth. I'd want her to be a virgin after my birth. Why? Because see, if you're God, you're the high priest. You're the king. And when you're going to come through this vessel, her womb becomes a sanctuary. Only the high priest enters into that sanctuary. So no matter what the History Channel says, right, that Jesus had brothers and sisters, they're liars. Because they don't know. They don't know. But see, if you know and you made her, you would do this. I would do this. And the world may look at this and go, yeah, but that's crazy. That doesn't even make sense rationally. How could a woman be a mother and a virgin at the same time? Explain that to me. Easy. Easy. Okay, we're sitting in this beautiful basilica, and we've got these beautiful stained glass windows, and all of you right now are seeing light come through the window. You don't see the light, but it's coming through. Now let me ask you this. Is that light breaking the integrity of that window right now? No. If you say that it is, you got issues. It's not. It's coming through it, truly, and it's bringing light into this building. Who is Jesus Christ? God from God, light from light, true God from true God. If he can make light pass through a window and doesn't break the integrity of that window or that glass, why would he not do something like that for the womb, the holy womb of his dear mother, so that she retains her virginity even during childbirth? I would. You gotta. Or how many of you would deny that in the morning, dew passes through a flower and doesn't break the integrity of that flower, but actually makes that flower fruitful? Who of you would deny that? You can't deny that. We know this to be true. If God can do things like that for a window and a flower, why would he deprive his mother of the great privilege of being a perpetual virgin? He wouldn't. I wouldn't. Not in the least. Okay, you know what else I would do? Because as God, if you're God, you can't be stingy. You can't create a masterpiece where you pour the plenitude of your mercy into and then get all stingy with it. You can't create her and go, it's all mine, suckers. You can't do that. You would fall from your divineness if you did that. You don't act like that if you're God. You give constantly. It's what you do. So what would you do? You know what I would do? Man, at the pinnacle of human history, this is what I would do. I would make a statement so clear that if you didn't understand the words that came out of my mouth, you know, you got issues. I would do something like this. I'd make it so clear that you would have basically no choice to look at me. I would strip myself of my garments. I would mount something, and I would say to the crowds, "Behold, your mother." See, because if you are God and you make a masterpiece of maternity, you would find a way to give her so that she could be the mother of everyone. Not physically, because that's an impossibility, but spiritually. Because you are calling others to have a share in your sonship, to become sons and daughters of your Father. And if they don't have the same exact mother that you have, it's a funky family up there. But it's not a funky family. He has found a way, because he's God, to do this. And he wants this blessing for all of his people. That this most precious woman, masterpiece of his creation, would be the mother of everyone. I would do this. If you want to make me happy, there's one easy way to do it. Come up to me and start talking about the loveliness and the beauty and the kindness of my mom, my earthly mom. If you do that to me, you've won my heart immediately. And then if you tell me things like you've laid roses at the feet of my mother and you sing songs about my mother, we are friends for life. But if you speak against my mother, there's going to be a problem. That's just how things work, right? That's how Jesus himself has set it up. Because he made his own mom. And what a blessing she is for us. And you know, when you think about it, he loves her so much that he gave 10 times as much of his life to her as he gave to his apostles. Peter, James, John, the rest of them, they got 3 years. Mary got 30. That is not insignificant. That is huge. He could have, because he's God, out of the air, formed as the Messiah, ready to go. But he didn't. And we need to learn from him. If the God-man placed himself under the care and the direction and the mantle of Mary, we need to do this too. Let's take it a step further. You know, there's going to come a day in my life that I am not going to look forward to. My mom, here on earth, will die. It's going to be a horrible day. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to be in tears. Oh, I do not want this to happen. And trust me, if I were God and I could find a way that my mother would never die, you better bet I would do it. But I'm not. And neither all of us are going to experience this. But if you were God, would you? Could you? You could. And would you? Yeah. If you had the divine mind, you would find a way so that your mother would never experience the corruption of the tomb. She wouldn't die like the rest of humanity would die, because you would make her flawless without sin. And you would do extraordinary things for her if you had the power. I would do this. At the end of this talk, I'm going to give you an explanation of how the church teaches this, but how now even science affirms this. In an amazing way. This is the big terminology I'm going to use at the end of this talk. And trust me, my friends, your mind is going to be blown by the scientific, not, you know, a lot of people think, oh, science and the faith are opposed. Nonsense. If it wasn't for the Catholic Church, we basically wouldn't have the scientific field. So this is the facts of the things. The reality is that everything that we already know and have been professing dogmatically for years and years, the secular sciences are lagging. They're trying to race up to catch up with what we already know. At the end of this talk, I'm going to tell you about something. I pretty much guarantee you tonight or tomorrow, you're going to run home to Google.com or whatever, and you're going to punch this term in and find out more about this, because it's amazing. That's the first person we've talked about. See, Mary is the Trinitarian masterpiece, the Mother of Mercy. So let's go to phase 2 of this little experiment. What if you were God the Father? You'd be creating Mary as well, Trinitarian masterpiece. What would you be creating? You would be creating and fashioning the perfect daughter, the perfect little girl. What would you do? I know what I would do. I would make this little girl so lovely, so pure, that she would be Daddy's little princess. You don't mess with Daddy's little princess. I would make her so lovely that I would do something like this. I would write a book through human authors, but I would inspire them to write this book, maybe called call it like the Bible. And the first book, I would talk about this woman, my little girl. The last book, I talk about her again, which means the very bookends of human history would be about Daddy talking about his little princess. And it's not just good enough that she's Daddy's little princess. Because if I were God, Father God, paternal power, I would raise my little girl up, the apple of my eye, my little sweetheart. I would raise her up to be the queen of the cosmos. And I would make something in that book maybe called, I don't know, commandments. It'd be 10 of them. One of them I would fashion like this. Honor your father and your mother. I'd be setting this whole thing up from ancient of days for the fullness of time. When I sent forth my son, born of a woman, so that they could call out, Abba, Father. The crux of human history. I would be setting this whole thing up. Because this is Daddy's little girl. I would set it up so that if you don't honor Daddy's little girl, you might find yourself underneath her little delicate feminine heel getting crushed. I'm just saying. That's what I would do. I put it in the book, right? I'm just saying, that's how I would write it down. We know that's how it's written down. Because this is Daddy's little girl. She would be so lovely, so beautiful. Daddy's little girl, I would do something like this. Her name would be so special that somehow I would make it, whether men knew it or not, I would make it so that my little princess, her name would be the most common female name in the history of the world. Because that's my little girl. Right? And you know this is true. The name Mary, Maria, Miriam, Marie, whatever, every culture has a variation of it. And to this day, though there are other names that are rising up, to compete, no name in the history of the world has competed with this name. None. I would do this. Wouldn't you? If you were God? Sure. Or you wouldn't be God. Okay, let's go to phase 3. What if you're the Holy Spirit? What would you be creating in the mystery of Mary? The perfect bride, the perfect spouse. Now, I'm not married, right? I don't have a wife, but I'm a dude, right? A guy. Guys, think about these things. Back then when I grew up, guys made movies like Weird Science, trying to create the perfect female, the perfect woman, right? This wouldn't be weird science. This would be divine science. You would have the power to make the pinnacle, the crown of creation, the feminine genius. You would have the power to do this. Why would you hold back? I wouldn't hold back. She would be my lady. I would make actually a book, in that book, of the Bible, I would write the Song of Songs. I'd talk about my dove, my beauty. It'd be all about her. Every other song after that in human history would be a footnote to that song. Because that's my song to my sweetheart, to my lady, to my love. This is what God has done. I would do this, wouldn't you? I would make it so that my lady would be the most painted woman in the history of the world. Wouldn't you? And you know this is true. There's been no woman painted more than the Madonna. This is a fact. You don't even have to be a Christian to do this. Nowadays people think they got skills because they can paint a pear or a table. Nice. That's nice. But if you don't attempt to paint God's created masterpiece, you ain't got skills. That's why people back in the day, right, Middle Ages and so forth, all of them attempted at least to paint a Madonna and child. You see this when you go to the museums in Europe, Uffizi and all the others. People who weren't even members of the church. You had to attempt to paint this masterpiece because everybody knew. Today, not that many people know. But this is a fact. No woman has been painted more. You know what I would do for my lady? I would make it so that, in chosen times in history, I would send her in times of difficulty. And I'd make a thunderclap and heavenly doves come upon the scene. I would make my woman smell like roses. Young children and grown men would fall to their knees and they would cry in her presence. And I, the maker of the cosmos, would make the sun spin for my woman. Wouldn't you? Sure, or you're not God. God is madly in love with this woman. And this is just a logic. The things that I've said to you, you won't explicitly find in the scriptures, but it doesn't have to be there because God gave you a mind to use it. Logically, if you were God, Would you not do everything that I just said? Sure you would. I know I would, and then some. And we're going to continue to unpack this, of the mystery and the wonder of who Our Lady is. God knows this because this is how He established it. And you know, He's made her the very model and blueprint of us becoming pleasing to Him. Jesus is our ultimate model for everything. He's God. But you're never going to be God. You're never going to fit perfectly into that model. You're never going to be the fourth person of the Blessed Trinity. That doesn't even make sense. We'll be partakers of the divine nature, sons and daughters of the Most High, but you're never going to be God. So He established a created blueprint, model, prototype, and pattern that you should conform to in order to be pleasing to Him. And her name is Mary. No angel, no pope, no saint, nobody will ever compare with her. She is the model. That's why the saints themselves will say that if you want to become holy, as God desires you to be holy, you have to become supple, docile, liquefied by the Holy Spirit, and be poured into the Mary mold. She's not a cookie maker, she's a saint maker. She'll make you holy, because she herself is the channel, the mediatrix of all grace. This is how God has set it up. And you know, the mystery of this is that the saints know this. It's the key to how they become saints. Nobody's ever beatified or canonized who didn't love the Blessed Virgin Mary. Because you can't become holy unless you fit into the pattern. Really and truly. And you know, God loves us so much that He's written us on His hands, right? Carved into His hands, literally. He proves His love. He shows His love for us. He knows us all by name. We're imprinted, branded on the hands of the God-man. You know what's interesting? He has done something for you. He shows you how He wants you to become like. You know, think of it this way. At the beginning of every secular year, January 1st, we celebrate what? Mary, the Mother of God. I think that God intentionally set it up that day so that when all the people are making New Year's resolutions, want to lose weight, want to whatever, that's all good, but it usually lasts about a week, right? What if God gave us a New Year's resolution? He does. That we become more like Mary. Jesus Himself says this in the Scriptures. Those who do the will of God will become like my brother, sister, not physically brothers and sisters. We could unpack that and do that in the talk. Like my brothers, my sisters, and my mother. He's actually exalting her. If you want to do the will of God and be pleasing to me, be like my mom. That's God's New Year's resolution for us. And you know what He's done for us? So that from this talk, you actually walk away from something concrete in hand. You're never going to forget this. I want all of you right now to take a look at your hand. Left or right, it doesn't matter. Do you not see that you've been branded with an M in the palm of your hand? It's there. You're not a freak of nature. Don't stretch it too much or you won't see it. It's a simple little way of understanding. You see, you've been branded to become an altar of Maria, another Mary for Jesus. That, my friends, is the key to sanctity as a Christian. Because without Mary, you won't have Jesus. Without Mary, you won't have the New Testament. Without Mary, you won't have the sacraments. You won't have the church. You'll have practically nothing. Because He didn't just pop out of the air. He chose to come into the world through her. And this is really important for us. God knows this, the saints know this, but do you know who else knows it? Satan. Lucifer, the devil. Oh, he is well aware of the fact that he gets his face crushed by her little dainty feminine heel. He's not stupid. He's wicked, manipulative, a deceiver. But he knows. This is why he hates her. And he hates all who seek to give their lives to her and to become like her in virtue, and to strive to become holy without blemish, spot, or wrinkle, and immaculate. That's what it's all about, my friends. That's why Satan hates those who follow Christ in the Marian way. That's why Satan hates the Catholic Church. Because the Catholic Church is patterned off of Our Lady. The Catholic Church is, as it were, the daughter of Our Lady. She is the mother of the Church, of the mystical body. When I was writing this book, that came out last year, the one I would encourage you to get, the title is Under the Mantle. And the reason I put that there is because of all these saints, they keep talking about live under the mantle, find refuge under the mantle. That's where our safety, our refuge is. God Himself lived under that mantle. What has Satan been trying to do for the last 2,000 years. Follow me on this now. It's a play on words, but it's really important. Satan wants to dismantle Christianity. He knows where your refuge is. He knows where your safety is. It's under the mantle of Mary. That's why he doesn't want you to have a relationship with the Blessed Virgin Mary. That's why he doesn't want you to be close to her, to be consecrated to her. Because if you fall away from Mary, you will fall away from Christ. You may still know him and pray to him, and that's good. But if you don't know Mary, you won't know the fullness of Jesus Christ. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Tried and true in history. When you walk away from Mary, you will walk away from Christ. Maybe not completely, but you won't understand the church. You won't understand the sacraments. You'll walk away from the Eucharist. You'll walk away from life itself. Because without Mary, we wouldn't have these mysteries. God set it up this way. Think about it, the logic of this now. Doesn't have to be explicitly spelled out in the sacred scriptures. We got a brain. We need to use it. We wouldn't have our Lord without Our Lady, which, if you break that down, means we wouldn't have life without Our Lady. Why? It's a bold statement. Jesus says, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you don't have life. You may look like you do, but you can be dead. You may walk, you may talk, but spiritually, you are dead. Because if you don't have the Eucharist, you got nothing. You can go somewhere where they got great music and good cookies and fellowship, but if you don't have the Eucharist, you got nothing. Those are not my words, the words of Jesus Christ. And I find it interesting that the only place in the New Testament where there is the 666, this is frightening, my friends, is in the Gospel of John in the Eucharistic Discourse, where he's talking about his presence there. About, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you don't have life. And isn't it interesting and scary that in the 6th chapter, in verse 66, there's no other place in the New Testament that has 66 verses in the 6th chapter, the only place. What is it? When some people walk away from his teaching on the Eucharist. Wow. It's in the book, but we just have to unpack it and understand it. See, if Mary is this one that he came into the world through, that he delights that we come to him, remember, me as a creature, if you want to know me, because you weren't there when I was born in 1972, you don't know me, but if you want to know me as a creature, who are you going to ask? My mom. She was there. She'd be more than happy to tell you about the times she taught me how to walk, and how to talk, and how to swim, and all those other things. So where do we learn about Jesus in his infancy, in his childhood? From the source. It ain't rocket science. You just got to ask her. She'll tell you. Mary is the monstrance of God. Monstrance means to show. So when you come to adoration, monstrare, that's what it means. She's the tabernacle of the Most High. That's what she does for us, my friends. That's why we need this so much. Let me put it to you this way. The importance of this is so great that without her, we wouldn't have Jesus, we wouldn't have the Eucharist, we wouldn't have any of the other sacraments, we wouldn't have the church, we wouldn't even have the New Testament. Really and truly. Think about it. Mary didn't write it, but let me ask you this. Let's say Matthew and Luke, where we have the infancy narratives. Where did they get this? They weren't there when Jesus was born. So after his, death and the resurrection and ascension, and he goes to his Father to prepare a place for us, where did the gospel writers get this stuff? Didn't they, like many modern scholars say, just kind of fudge it? Did they just look around for kind of like, yeah, we got nothing here on his early life, so I don't know, maybe we should just kind of wing it? And what is that? Oh, there's something in circulation right now about some ancient myth about some other stuff? Yeah. Let's borrow that, superimpose our stuff on it, and make up something about his birth. Yeah. What nonsense is this? And people come up with sources that never even existed to try and fill in the gaps. Why? Because you don't know Mary. That's why. All you gotta do is ask his mom. Talk to her. She'll tell you about the other things that none of the gospel writers were there to know. About when he was lost in the temple. Right? They weren't there. Where do we get this? They didn't make it up and just fill it in. Mary stayed after the resurrection and ascension to teach. That's what a mother does. The gospel life about these things. About his birth. About when he was lost in the temple. About when the angel came to her. We would have never known about this. About when she went in haste to her cousin Elizabeth. When she proclaimed her Magnificat. My soul magnifies the Lord. They weren't there when this went down. Mary told this to them. It's a no-brainer. But because we refuse to have a relationship with his mother, try and come up with theories and ideas that we think are brilliant. Nonsense. Ask her, and she will tell you. That's her role. God has given so much to this mother that he does something amazing through her. Now I want to ask you who are mothers something. I want you to imagine with me that you have a power and a capacity as a mom to give your children a food that would assure your children an everlasting life. Okay? Every mother wishes that she could do this on some level, right? My mom did something for me when I was a kid. Your moms did it. All moms do it. My mom gave me broccoli and spinach and all that, and she said, Donnie, eat up. It'll make you strong like Popeye, right? I have no problem with me. I always love veggies. No issue there. But if you were a mother, and you had the ability to make, you would make this, and you would give it to your children, a food that if they ate it, they would live forever. Would you not give it to them? You'd be a weird mom if you didn't do this, if you deprived your children of this food. Well, you can't do this as a mother. But there's one mother who can, and she does, on a daily basis. Because God has made her the new Eve, the mother of all the living. And as a mother, her role is to feed her children. The saints say it like this. Mary's womb became an oven, a fiery hot oven. And in that oven, she bakes for her spiritual children the bread of life. And if you eat that food that mom made for you, you will live forever. And all this is in the book, not my book, the Bible. Really and truly. Do you know what the word Bethlehem means in Hebrew? House of bread. Not making this up. Jeff Gavins can tell you all this stuff. I'm no linguist, but I learned all this stuff from Scott Hahn and all the other smart people. Do you know what it means in Aramaic? House of flesh, or house of meat. Really? It's all in the book. And we need to eat this. Think about it this way. What do? I do it. When you see a little baby, we act like lunatics. I do. We love babies, right? When I see a little fat baby, a little fat belly, we get all crazy. We lose reason and we start going, I'm going to eat you up. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Love it, right? But we don't eat babies, okay? That would be a problem. But there was one baby who was born to be consumed. Mary's baby. He would grow up in that flesh, same flesh that he got from Mary. He got his blood from Mary. And when he is there pouring out his love, when that flesh is matured into manhood, same flesh, we eat it, we consume it. It's available for us daily because our mother made it for us. That's why the church is not primarily an institution. She is an institution, of course. She is Mother Church that feeds her children, patterned off of our reading. Oh, this is so important for us to know. So important for us to know. I wish I had time, you don't have to read this stuff in the book, to talk about the other things that our spiritual mother does for us. Not only does she feed us, we wouldn't be able to have life in Christ without Our Lady. Ooh, I wish I had the time to unpack that. It's all in my book. It's so important. That's why we call the baptismal font the womb of Christians. Because we're entering into the family of God. And it's why people, if they convert to Catholicism like I did, you're not rebaptized. Why? Because you've already been born, as long as it was done with the right formula. You're simply coming home to Mother Church. She already gave birth to you, whether you acknowledge her or not. When you finally come to know the fullness of the message, you will acknowledge your mother. And for those who acknowledge their mother, they will also realize that they make a mess of things. I don't have time, but I wish I did, to unpack for you what I call confession as the spiritual diaper change. Because it is. I know, it's weird terminology, but you're never going to forget it. But see, only those who know that they have a mother realize that they spiritually soiled themselves. Because you're going to. It don't matter if you're 8 months old, 14 years old, 82 years old. In this fallen world, valley of tears, you're going to make a mess of things. God doesn't freak out because you fall. What displeases Father is when you deny that you stink. You're gonna stink, okay? He doesn't take great delight in it, but because he's your dad, working for the family, mom, and his bride, we're gonna get cleaned up every single time, and it's never gonna cost a dime. It's confession. And without Mary, we wouldn't have this great mystery for us. Oh, I wish I had time to go into it, but I don't. It's in the book. Read it. It'll help you to understand the necessary place of confession. This is why, honestly, if there were a confession line going on right now, and there was earlier, chances are, if I went up to those people and said, excuse me, I see you in a confession line that's very edifying, thank you so much. Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. Do you have a relationship with Mary? I almost guarantee you that people who go to frequent confession have a relationship with the Blessed Virgin Mary. But if I asked random, Joe Sixpack in the pew, or some dude who rarely goes to church, if he ever goes to confession, and if he said no, my next question would be, do you have a relationship with Mary? I almost guarantee you that he would say no. Why? Because when you don't acknowledge your spiritual mother, you don't realize that you need a spiritual diaper change. You have to become a child and be humble and go to the source that cleans you up. You don't know her? You won't know. Okay. Let me move on to the last thing, as I promised at the beginning of this talk. Remember, if you were God, if I were God, I would find a way, man, that my mom would never experience the corruption of the tomb. Because I'm God, that's my mom. Check this out. Scientists, okay, many of them, not even Catholic or believers, have discovered something. Within probably the last 15 years, I first learned about it when I was in seminary. I've been a priest 11 years now, and when I was in seminary, I read some articles and it just blew me away. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Scientists have discovered something called fetal microchimerism. Don't panic, it's in the book. What is it? These scientists did a whole bunch of studies at American universities and European universities where they found in mothers cells that were not theirs, living cells. Okay? And discovered that these were the cells of their children. So when a woman becomes pregnant, at the very beginning stages of the pregnancy, there is a cellular exchange that happens between a mother and the child in her womb. And what they discovered, because they saw this and they started to examine older women who were up there in age, and they found still women, to the end of their day, had cells of their children in their body, living cells, and vice versa. They discovered that all of us, we come through a mother, we have cells of our mothers in our body right now. Living cells, not huge numbers, but they are there. This has been proven. And as they continue to study, some of these women, and filling out all the things for who they were and all that, they didn't put certain things, and rightly so. They discovered cells in these women too that were not theirs. But the women on that form didn't put that they were a mother. So they asked these particular women, we found cells from, somebody else in your body that are not yours, but you didn't put that you were a mother. So the women said two things, some of them. Oh, well, I did have a miscarriage. Even if a woman suffers a miscarriage, and many women do, it's a very sad thing that happens in the life of the family, many times. Even then, though your child is no longer here, there are cells of that child living in your body right now. Some other women, out of great shame and so forth, said, oh, well, I didn't want to bring it up. I had an abortion, right? Many women make a horrible decision to terminate the pregnancy within them, but they're mothers, and though that child is no longer here, he is, on some level, on a cellular level, in that mother's body, still. This is why I think that the scientific community hasn't spread this knowledge out, because it's so pro-life in its implications. It's profound. But I'm just getting started with it. You know what else they discovered? Because some of these women, during these studies and so forth, became ill. For various reasons, we all get sick, right? So they found that some of these women became sick, some of these mothers became sick, and they found in the area of the illness, literally, the location of their body where they were sick, clusters of cells. Guess whose cells they were? Her children. And so they initially thought, oh, this is not good. This doesn't look good. It appears that the cells of this mother's children are the cause of her illness. It's bad news. But as they continued their studies, guess what they found? The exact opposite. When a mother, any mother, becomes sick, the cells of her children in her body rush to the area of her illness to fight for her life. Now, isn't that interesting in the implications when it comes to the times that we live in, when many women have had an abortion, made a horrible decision, terminated a pregnancy within them? Isn't it ironic that the child that you terminated now fights for your life? Wow. This is amazing. But what I didn't read, and what you won't find for the most part, although it's being picked up more and more now by Rachel's Vineyard, EWTN's talking about it as well, and certain others, there's a particular mother and a particular son named Mary and Jesus. He's not a phantasm, he's not a robot, he's not an angel, he's true God and true man. He would have looked just like me in the sense of his manhood. He had all of his components. The mystery is that there was a cellular exchange that took place. He gets his chromosomes that he needs from his mother, and the rest are supplied for his manhood by his father. In some mysterious way that we don't fully understand, but he is the God-man. True man. Not a robot, not an angel, not a phantasm. True man. True human nature. A cellular exchange happens between this mother and child. Amazing. You know, for 2,000 years practically, saints have said things about Our Lady that people have thought Catholics, oh, there they go again, exaggerating with Mary and these terminologies that are so over the top. But we would call Our Lady the terror of demons, right? The conqueror of all heresies. Why? Think about it in light of fetal microchimerism. Yes, Mary, when the angel comes to you and says, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." Yes, now, because God is entering into your sacred womb, and he's going to come into the world through you, but even after he passes through that sacred womb of yours, he's going to remain in your body on a cellular level, so that wherever you go, he goes. This is why you do crush the serpent. You're not God. Mary's not God. The Catholic Church never taught that. But God lives in her. She is the tabernacle of the Most High. She is the place of his presence. She's the Ark of the Covenant. This is why demons shriek in terror when Mary comes on the scene. Why? Because she doesn't come alone. You don't have to be some brilliant theologian or a saint to know this now. Science confirms this. But check this out. Let's take it a step further. See, because we believe, as Catholics, on August 15th every year, as Latin Rite Catholics, which I'm assuming most of you are, the largest rite of the Catholic Church, right, with many rites. But what do you and I celebrate every year on August 15th? That's right, not the resurrection. That's very interesting and very important. Resurrection implies death, right? Right. See, the Catholic Church has never dogmatically defined the end of Mary's days, of what happened. We don't know. There's theories, legends, and so forth, many of them cute and funny and so forth. But we don't know. Even in the dogmatic declaration of Mary's Assumption in 1950, it was not put in there about how and what happened at the end of Mary's days. Sometimes the terminology of death is used, but it's not a death like you and I experience, because why? The penalty for sin is death. Mary wasn't a sinner. Isn't it interesting that in the very early church, they had ways of understanding this. They said, you know, in legends and so forth, that the apostles came back so that they could see her, you know, assume, and she threw down her sash. Would have loved to have gotten that sash, right? But they talk about it in certain ways. The transitus Mariae, which is the transition of Mary. Or the Eastern Church. To this day, this is what they call it, and it's very important what they call it. Dormition. Okay? Any of you speak Spanish by chance? What's the word for sleep? Dormir, right? So Mary's falling asleep. Not a death in the corruption of the tomb being buried 6 feet under, because we're talking about God's mom. And a lot of people are like, oh, but this is unbiblical, da 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 da. I can pack that open how it's not unbiblical. But let's just take science. You can be a thorough pagan atheist. Let's just take science to prove this now. With this thing called fetal microchimerism. If Mary has cells of the God-man, those aren't just ordinary cells, those are divine. Could she ever experience the corruption of the tomb? The answer? No. People have thought Catholics are nuts. Oh, this isn't in the Bible, or this isn't that. They're just making stuff up, these Marian dogmas and so forth. No. See, if I was God, I would do something just like this for my mom, and I would leave it to humanity. Yeah, they'll figure it out in 2,000 years. But I'm going to put my cells in my mom. She's never going to experience the corruption of the tomb. She's never going to experience a death like the rest of the people who died, because she's not a sinner. I made my mom flawless, immaculate. No way, no how. Satan never has anything against my mother. Nothing. See, because wouldn't it be a horrible thing if Satan could say, okay, fine, you made a good thing there with your mom, but at some point, she's going to go into the grave. Not mine. Because I'm God. Ain't going to happen. God can do this, and He did, my friends. That's how much He is in love with this masterpiece. Every mercy that He could, He gave to her. Every one of them. And now her role as mediatrix of mercy, mother of mercy, masterpiece of mercy, mother of the new evangelization, is to pour those graces out to us. That's why if we want renewal in our lives, parish, or diocese, we have to belong to Our Lady. You will not have head-crushing power against the forces of evil unless you are under the mantle of Our Lady. This is what God wants you to know. It's what the saints want you to know. And it's what Satan doesn't want you to know. So my friends, get under that mantle. Be safe, secure, tightly held by our mother. When you are under that mantle, not even Satan can touch you. Because you are in the arms, masterpiece of mercy, of the mother of mercy, our tender mother. God bless you all. Thank you.